And president of Alytui College come here to Rochester as guests of Geneseo College. We have arranged for concerts. We had Dainava ensemble, a very famous ensemble in Lithuania, actually located in Alytus, come here and performed for a group of 300-400 people. It received quite a bit of notice in the local press. We have the group of Lithuanians from Alytus, again, members of this Dainava group, march in the Lilac Parade, and that reverberated throughout the city because they were marching and they were singing at the same time. We had a concert, a transatlantic concert via internet between the symphonies orchestras of Alytus young people and Rochester young people, and that really was extremely successful. It was held at Wesleyan College, audience of 700 people. In fact, the mayor was there, Miss Lovely Warren, and she keeps reminding people when we have meetings that she's the president of Sister Cities, honorary president of Sister Cities. She comes to the meetings and she always uses that concert as an example of people-to-people relationship. We also have business groups come here trying to promote their trade, their investments, etc. We have established an essay contest for students in Alytus High School, and we sponsor that. That's been very successful. We have the various art and photo exhibits here and also in Alytus. So that's just a few of the projects that we have been involved in.
This is my husband, August Niujorkas. We've been married 50 years. And in 1991, we went to Lithuania and realized that when the Russians got out, that all these organizations that depended on help would be broke probably and not have any resources. So when we came back, we talked to Father Gintras, Jonakas, and he said, "We'll do something." So we did. We started raising money, first of all, for shipping costs and collected clothing and shoes for Lithuanians in orphanages and nursing homes. And that is what we did. We shipped clothes over for all those years until we moved to Our Lady of Lourdes. And at Our Lady of Lourdes, we didn't have the space to collect the clothes. So what we came up with was a shoebox. Everybody would fill a shoebox. And the Alytus Sister Cities Committee together helped support it. And so for quite a few years now, we've been collecting shoeboxes from St. Anne's, Our Lady of Lourdes, and St. George parishioners. And then we ship them out to the orphanages in Alytus and also the nursing home in Alytus.
And what has been the response from Lithuania?
Yeah, very, very positive. Each year they get the children and the parents together and have a party and hand out the boxes. And as one person said here, I think it was Birute Litvinus said, "You don't know how special that box is when it comes to you from America." She said, "I remember opening my box and having a pencil and a piece of paper in there, or a tablet." And one of the ladies told us about a little girl who said, "I'll open mine at home when I'm all alone." So we know it's special.
Once upon a time, after the Second World War, there were about 113 or so parishes, Lithuanian parishes in the States. That's like almost every town, every big town had a couple. Chicago had about 13 parishes. When they came to the States, all immigrants follow the same pattern. When somebody goes someplace, then people follow the one who is leading. So same way when somebody emigrated to Canada or to the States, and they stayed in New York. So people from that area will probably follow. So big numbers of people came to big cities, of course, Chicago, New York, Cleveland, Los Angeles, and so on. So, and there were times when there was no Lithuanian church, so they were still Catholics. They wanted to go to church, so they went to the Polish church. But when enough Lithuanians came over, they started doing their own. They founded their parishes. People, of course, paid for everything that they obtained. And as I said, it was over 100 parishes in the States. Now, when people come individually afterwards, they dribble in, they wind up in one of those centers that are already established. And usually they were religious parishes, religious societies. There were some others as well, like the veterans and other Lithuanian too. But now the immigrants or immigrants into these countries after the war, after communism, they are, we call it de-churched or unchurched, meaning they were forbidden to worship in public. Their parents went through a lot, but this is the younger generation that were more influenced by the communist rule for 50 years. So when they come now, I would say a very small percentage that winds up at the parishes, because church has no real influence on them or value. Well, Rochester is close to me because we helped this parish, St. George's Parish, in while their pastor, Father, the name escapes me now. No, before the pastor died. Mackevich's family was a parish that produced 2 priests, but they were living out other jobs. The Lithuanian parish was run as Lithuanian parish by Bakshis, the founder, and then other pastors came. And then the pastor got sick, and he died in 1971. And we were asked to take over the parish. So in 72, in April, I came here to Rochester as an assistant to Father Bernardine. And I worked for a year or so. Then Father Bernardine got sick again. So then they appointed me in April, well, I'm not sure exact date, but at the beginning of 72, then I was pastor until 73, in the fall of 73. Then I went back to Canada again as a pastor there. And our Franciscans worked in this parish after me for another, I would say, maybe 10, 15 years. And then, of course, the Mackevich's brothers who were working in other places and went into what you call it, retirement, then they came back to St. George's. And those 2 priests were working and taking care of this parish until they both died. And when they both died, the parish was already getting smaller as well, because the numbers were dwindling and the last generations are already passing out. So they were looking for priests and they can't find any. That's a problem today. Lithuania itself does not have a surplus of priests, but outside Lithuania, all the generation priests are all gone. So, of course, the number of parishes is also down perhaps to 1/3 or 1/4 what it was before. So we are having a problem with supplying priests for parishes. Of course, it also comes down to, if you invite a priest, you have to have enough people to provide him with living, meaning quarters and food and place to stay. And that's not easy when the numbers are down to 50 or 60 or 70 people.
The school started about 2005, and it was started by Ročesterio. She thought there was a need to bring back a Lithuanian school, and so she put her own money up to get the school started and invited some teachers, and we started with maybe about 20 or 25 students.
And how many students do you have enrolled now?
Currently, as of today, we have 17 children and 17 adult students. The Gudvickas school gave us some funding to help run our school, and so to honor Eddie, that we decided to name the school after him. So it was after our second year of school, then we named the school after Ed Gudvickas.
Number 12 is trileka. 13 is trileka. Number 14 is ketoroleka. Number 15 is penkioleka. Penkioleka. Okay, you guys are getting fuzzy in the middle. Number 16 is shesholeka. Okay, the next one is number 7. It's septine. Can you say that? Septine? Very good. Very good.
Ishvilot and smelo. Ishvilot, to bring him on the sand. Negivai,
Not living.
dead. Ye, Ishbuchate. Can you say that? Užbučiavus. The wave did what? Palangoj, aukštėn pušyno, išvilioti ant smėlyno, negyvai jį išbučiavus. What's Palanga?
Well, we've been working for 3 years now, and we have 20 to 22 people who have come. Some of them are married to Lithuanians, some of them are great-grandparents, some of them just discovered. They're born-again Lithuanians, and I love it. So half of the program is about history. This year we're concentrating on the 100-year anniversary of Lithuania's independence, and the other half, Giedrė works with grammar and the language. These people have also gone with me twice to Lithuania now, many of them, and we're going again next year from the class. So not only that, but so it's a delight for me. This is a delight.
Joninės is a St. John's feast, so also called as Rasos šventė. The Rasos šventė would be water drops. How do you say in English? The dew day. So it's the solstice of the change of the half of the coming from winter, so spring to summer. Change of that, the longest day and the shortest night. And so what you do is, it's a lot of traditions, and some of them I'll tell you, is to wash yourself off with the water, to clean yourself, St. John Day. That's one of the things when you walk through the gate. And then dancing, music, food, as rich as possible. Delicious food has to be served that day. So then what we do is we play games, then we sacrifice the fire, gabija, then we jump over the fire for good luck. So people have to wear no shoes and they have to jump over the fire to wish the good luck for the year. And then we make wreaths, which is really important. So then you're supposed to let the wreath go on the water with a little candle in the middle. Again, cleaning yourself, just letting things go and learning the new you for the year. So it was just kind of one of those traditions. Also, you take a wreath and you throw it on like a long tall stick, kupole, which is we build, and if you get hooked, you will get married. So if you hook the wreath on this stick over there, you'll get married. Or the girls will mix up shoes, you know, and they'll pick a boy's shoe and they will get married. It's these superstition things that we have. That's what mostly pagans did. A lot of paganism involved in this celebration.
So today we had a winter festival, which is I call in English Mardi Gras a little bit, but it's a užgavėnės in Lithuanian. So what we do is, the tradition is to celebrate kind of a winter ending. So trying to get rid of the snow and welcoming spring. So what you saw before was that the Lithuanians and Kanapinis are fighting. So what do they mean? Lithuanians means like a fat guy who eats all winter and piles up all the fatness and basically that heavy cold and it just doesn't go away. So we want this to go away. So Kanapinis is a spring and it represents that the spring wins and it's beautiful, it's blooming, everything is restoring and coming back again. So, and more is a fake doll. You make that doll as beautiful as the snow it is, which is not that bad, but it's just cold, and we burn it. So by burning, we're representing that the winter is over and the spring is coming.
These are the goose eggs.
Oh, I've never seen that.
Lithuanian eggs are called margučiai, and it comes as a surprise to many people that they were Lithuanian tradition before Christianity. So in 8th century already, now that archaeologists are looking at the graves we are capable of looking at our own life. After all of 50 years of Soviet occupation, we can open up and take a look at who we were. We're finding eggs inside of graves that they would put. The egg was a very important aspect of Lithuanian culture because we were a farm community, and at the end of the winter, all the supplies are finished. So the only grain that is left, we have no meat, and the only grain that is left is the one that is used for sowing next time. So what would happen with the birds coming home, and we always have a feast for 40 birds that come to Lithuania at the beginning of spring. There were eggs that the birds had laid, and so people would take those eggs and use them as food. And later on, they would sort of give back to the birds. But the giving back was a signature egg, so they would make all kinds of patterns inside of the egg. And the most important pattern, of course, was the bird's claw, I think, it's called a claw. So on the egg, you see those like a little feet in there always. And so the other thing on the egg is žaltys, the snake that was an emissary from Lithuanian god Perkūnas, who lived in a house with people and who was sort of a talisman for health and so on. And so the egg, which is dyed black, only the colors of the earth. The earth is black and with designs of yellow and so on. It awakens, the black is not a surprise because it awakens the earth, and inside you have all kinds of designs for Ru, for the sun, for the stars, and especially for žaltys. And when you think about it, why we crack the eggs. So in the morning, before we eat our breakfast, the Easter breakfast, everyone takes an egg and sort of cracks with each other. And the reason for that is opening up life. And inside of that egg, of course, is žaltys, because žaltys, the Lithuanian emissary from Perkūnas, the god of thunder, he is not poisonous and he has yellow coverings here. So when you open up the egg, you see this yellow inside of it. And of course, we wish each other health and we wish each other a very good year to come and so on. And the egg becomes the central aspect of this holiday. Even though we are Christian from 1387, we are the last people to become Christian, we are overlaid our Christianity, and we're 86% Roman Catholic, and Catholicism was overlaid one and the other. And of course Catholicism came as a country. It wasn't that each person decided, but the king decided we're going to be Catholics. And then we have all of these traditions which we call from the old religion, which is so important. And the egg is from this old form of religion because it has to do with spring, and the egg opens up life and opens up new things for us. It is my great pleasure to again welcome you to our annual gathering to celebrate Kūčios, the eve before Christmas, which for all Lithuanians is the most important, most sacred moment and observance of the year. The name Kūčios comes from the Greek word kūkia. It means a dish made of grains and honey that is served during a family gathering. It is to this family gathering that we welcome you. Lonely planet, Lithuania is the most mystical country in Europe. To truly grasp the meaning of the word mystical as a reference to Lithuania, to understand how it pertains to that which means spiritually significant, one has to sit at the Kūčių table in a Lithuanian home. For us Lithuanians, whose ancestors have lived near the Baltic Sea for more than 8,000 years before the birth of Christ, who speak a language which linguists say is the oldest and the purest surviving proto-Indo-European languages, as archaic as Sanskrit, the mysticism of Kūčios comes from the intertwining of thousands of years of our ethnic traditions with the birth of the Christ child. In this we find who we Lithuanians are and what is our moral and spiritual value. Because we are the last country in Europe which was from the Baltic Sea to the Black Sea, we were the last to accept Christianity in 1387. Remember, Notre Dame was built in the 1200s. Our Adventus, the Latin word for preparation, the Greek word parousia, and pasiruošimas in Lithuania meant that before Christianity, we, an agrarian nation, closely tied to the nature, for centuries prepared for the return of the sun. It was on winter solstice, December 22nd to 28th, imprisoned by this winter, that started the return of the sun. Seeing this rebirth in spring, it was easy for our ancestors to believe that our loved ones, together with the birds who disappeared in the winter to a place called Dosos, would return on the Milky Way together with the sun. The whole emphasis of Kūčios, therefore, is to embrace our family. On this night, every Lithuanian makes every imaginable effort to return home. There is no greater sadness than not being at the Kūčių table to share the Christmas wafer with those whom one loves. It is on this night that we believe that the boundary between those sitting at the Kūčių table and those who have left us to live in Dosos disappears. On this mystical night, we place a candle in the window to light the way for those loved ones who are trying to find their way to our table, and for those who have no family to return to. Our tradition tells us to hang a straw bird above the table to remind us of the long journey made by our ancestors on birds' wings, to place an empty chair at the table and a plate with a branch of the fir, evergreen and symbolic of eternal life, to remember all of those who are not with us. What sorrow the empty chair must have represented, knowing that someone who was loved was alone in a foreign country, in a refugee camp after the Second World War, in the Gulag in Siberia, or in the forest as a freedom fighter. The most mystical country in Europe on this night intertwines the thousands of years of her agrarian traditions with the miraculous birth of the Christ child. The white linen tablecloth holds a branch of the fir tree, plotkelis, the wafer symbolic of that which Lithuanians hold most precious and sacred, duona, bread, and a crucifix, which tells us of rebirth, that as we in nature are reborn, we know that we will be reborn again.
Mūsų kraštas Lietuva. Sakė tėtis ir mamytė, mūsų kraštas Lietuva. Ženk sūnau, iškėlęs vytį, ten, kur Baltija melsva plauna žemę gintarinę, dieną naktį nerami, kur didvyriai už tėvynę žūsta laisvę gindami.
I think it's crucial to be aware of your heritage, where you came from. Learning Lithuanian language, knowing the customs and the traditions to carry it on. I hope my children do. They don't speak much Lithuanian at home. I wish they did more, but we're encouraging them to do so. My daughter graduated from Lithuanian school, and she did speak at the commencement, and she did a very nice job. She's very proud to be Lithuanian, as my son is. He loves sports, he loves the basketball teams. Anyone that does anything, so I know people that all they want to do is Lithuanian folk dancing. They don't want to get involved in politics, they don't like it. But what's wrong with that? Not everyone can do politics. If you folk dance, you're showing your heritage. That's great. Just be involved, do something. At the Lithuanian school, the Krikščionys Alytui Lithuanian school in Washington, we have a lot of families where only one parent is Lithuanian. And that's just the fact of life. But the children are learning the language, the history, the culture. And when they grow older, they can go to Lithuania. They can see it for themselves. It's one thing to read it in a book, but actually to be there, to feel the country, to see the country, to meet the people, it's wonderful. I mean, when I lived in Lithuania, I met many foreign people coming there saying, "This is such a beautiful country. You are so lucky. And you are so lucky you can speak the language." I worked there. I worked at the parliament. I worked for a private American company there, a consulting company. I had a lot of, in fact, I worked for, I was an interpreter for a modeling show there, fashion models, before I was married. And it was exciting. So, but to be a part of it is history, to know your culture you're very lucky to know. People right now, through the internet, they go to find out about their roots. Some people don't know their roots. They're really, it's unfortunate. But we know our roots, we know where we came from, and we support those people as they go on and publicize Lithuania.
I think it's very important. It's the fabric of who we are, and it's very important. And through life, you learn different parts about it at different times. And some people I know might run away from a culture, or feeling you have to be a certain way, you have to be a certain type. I think it's very important, and when relationships with parents, with family, that changes. And even now as an adult, I'm 54 years old, I continue to learn so much more about my parents, their culture, visiting family and friends, both in Lithuania. We got back my mother's farm. It's being used in Lithuania. And also it gives me the strength. I know where my values are, what freedom I have to try to kindle that in anybody else, in any other culture. I think it's very important as the fabric of who a person is. And the beauty to be able to speak any language, to know any music, and I see so many commonalities between all cultures.
If you deny your heritage, you deny yourself. Then you might as well just give it up. Because I think that is the biggest criminal thing you could do. If you deny who you are, then I mean, that's the biggest lie you can tell yourself.
Because I am Lithuanian myself, and there is no any other culture that it would come through me. And the love for Lithuania, where I grew up, I want to pass it on, that this is who we are. We are strong Lithuanians, and it will never gonna change. We always fought for freedom,